When I first moved into this neighborhood, I thought I had finally found peace. The streets were wide and clean, shaded by tall oak trees that whispered in the wind. Every lawn looked like something out of a magazine, trimmed grass, shining fences, carefully staged gardens. But none of that mattered as much as one thing, my German shepherd, Bruno. He wasn't just my pet. He was my family, my protector, my shadow. When life got tough, Bruno was the one who sat beside me, silent but steady, reminding me I wasn't alone. He had this calmness in his eyes that could melt away the hardest days. The kids on the street adored him. Old Mrs. Fletcher, who lived across from me, would sneak him biscuits whenever she saw him. Bruno never bit, never barked unnecessarily, and never caused a single problem. He was loved by everyone, or so I thought. The first letter arrived in a plain white envelope. No name, no logo, just my address printed neatly on the front. I almost tossed it in the trash. But when I tore it open, my heart dropped. Your dog is not permitted within this community. Remove the animal immediately, or fines will begin at $250 per day. I blinked at the page, reading it over and over again. My dog, not permitted? Before I could even process it, I looked outside, and there she was, Karen Whitfield, the HOA president, standing at the edge of my driveway with that smug smile, arms crossed like a queen surveying her kingdom. "You've got 48 hours, she called out coldly. "Rules are rules." Bruno pressed against my leg, ears back, a low growl rumbling in his throat. For the first time, I felt his unease. He didn't like her. Truthfully, neither did I. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing. Was I about to lose my best friend over some ridiculous rule? Or was this just Karen's personal war against me? I didn't know it yet, but that envelope was the opening shot in the ugliest battle of my life. The next morning, another envelope was taped to my front door in bold red letters. Final notice. Remove the dog immediately or face maximum fines, legal action, and a property lien. They weren't just threatening Bruno. They were threatening my home. I stormed into the HOA office. Bruno's leash still clutched in my hand. Karen sat behind her polished desk, flipping through papers like I was nothing more than a nuisance. "I don't understand what game you're playing," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "Bruno has done nothing wrong." She finally looked up, her lips curling into that infuriating smile. "Rules are rules," she said smoothly. "If you want to keep a dog, you should have chosen a different neighborhood." My fists clenched. "Show me the rule." She slid a thick binder across the desk. There it was, buried on page 237, highlighted in yellow. No animals over 30 pounds permitted within the subdivision. I felt sick. A rule written decades ago, buried deep in legal jargon, suddenly pulled out just for me. Half this neighborhood has dogs over 30 pounds. I shouted. Karen leaned forward, her eyes cold, her voice a whisper meant only for me. "Those dogs don't bother me. Yours does." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about rules. It was personal. The fine started immediately. $250 the first day, $500 the second, $750 the third. Every letter that landed in my mailbox felt like another stone on my chest. Neighbors began pulling their children away from Bruno. Some avoided me completely. Karen had spread lies, whispering that Bruno was dangerous. Suddenly, I was a villain of a neighborhood I had once called home. One night, I woke to pounding on my door. A notice had been nailed to my porch. "Remove the dog, or the sheriff will be called." Bruno barked furiously, sensing my panic. I knelt down, burying my face in his fur. "They're not taking you," I whispered. "Not while I'm breathing." The next morning, I walked into a lawyer's office with a stack of notices, photos, and letters. He read them carefully, shaking his head. "This," he said firmly, "is illegal. They can't enforce outdated bylaws like this, and they can't target only you." For the first time in weeks, hope flickered in my chest. "So, what do we do?" I asked. He smiled. "We fight back. We take them to court." The weeks before the trial were a nightmare. Karen doubled down. She patrolled the streets at night with a flashlight, snapping pictures of Bruno in my yard. She filed false noise complaints. She told the board I was unstable and dangerous. But I documented everything. Every threat, every letter, every fake complaint. By the time the court date arrived, I wasn't just fighting for Bruno anymore. I was fighting for my freedom. The courthouse smelled of old wood and cold air. My hands trembled as I held Bruno's collar like a good luck charm. He wasn't allowed inside, but in spirit, he was right there beside me. Across the aisle, Karen sat tall, pearls glinting in the light, her smug grin plastered on her face. Her lawyer adjusted his sharp suit, ready to tear me apart. The judge entered. Everyone rose. My heart thundered. The HOA's lawyer went first, spinning a story of me as a reckless neighbor. He pointed to the one highlighted line in the bylaws. No animals over 30 pounds permitted. He claimed I signed the contract. He claimed Bruno was a threat. He held up photos, noise complaints, and witness statements, all carefully orchestrated by Karen. It looked convincing. For a moment, I felt the weight of defeat pressing down. Then my lawyer stood, calm, collected. He started with the truth. That bylaw was 30 years old. Dozens of large dogs had lived in the neighborhood since then without issue. Labradors, golden retrievers, German shepherds. Never once had the HOA enforced this rule. Until me, then came the witnesses. Mrs. Fletcher's hands shook as she told the court Bruno was gentle and sweet. A delivery driver testified Bruno never barked or lunged, only wagged his tail. One of the children, with his parents' blessing, looked at the jury and said softly, "Bruno is my best friend." The jury shifted. The cracks in Karen's case began to show. But the real bombshell came when my lawyer revealed the emails we had subpoenaed. Karen's own words, calling Bruno a beast and a nuisance, admitting she wanted him gone because she hated the owner. The courtroom gasped. Karen's face turned crimson. The judge leaned forward, his voice sharp. So this wasn't about safety. This was personal. Karen tried to explain, but her words stumbled and fell apart. After tense hours, the jury returned. The judge's voice rang out. The bylaw is outdated and unenforceable. The HOA acted with bias and harassment. All fines are void. The HOA will pay damages for emotional distress and legal fees. For a moment, silence, then relief. We had won. I stepped outside into the sunlight, tears burning in my eyes. Reporters swarmed, neighbors whispered. Karen stormed away, her empire of intimidation shattered. Bruno leapt into my arms, tail wagging furiously. I buried my face in his fur. "They'll never take you away," I whispered. "Not as long as I live." That night, Bruno curled at my feet, snoring softly. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully, because this fight was never just about a dog. It was about standing tall against bullies, about freedom, about never backing down. And I knew we had won more than just a case. We had won our dignity back.